That's why you slept in. I was so shocked because I came in at like 93 minutes. And they were doing fine. This morning we're going to my dad's house just for a catch up because we haven't seen him in a little bit, and to see his photos from when he walked the Billabong track. So yeah, I'm super keen. I haven't been up to his in a while, and I'm gonna bring some produce bags because he has a lot of fruit at the moment, so I'm gonna steal some. Cheers. Good morning, my love. This is not the final form of this outdoor space. We've got so much planned for the next couple of months, including properly doing these little planters here and fixing up that area, but it's gonna look so good when it's done. I feel like Dinah's been a little bit lonely and bored lately, so I'm working from home today to keep her company. It's also going to be really hot today, and I just feel like it would be a nicer day if I spent it in the comfort of my own home. In terms of work today, I've got a bunch of articles that I want to write, a bunch of blog posts for a client, and that will be my whole day. And then this evening, I'm going to try and do a couple more chapters of The Artist's Way, and I think from here I'll probably share my experience with the journey and what I've learned so far. I imagine I will do it again in the future because from when I started to when we were supposed to finish was quite a chaotic time in my life. So it might be nice to do it towards like my birthday this year again, maybe, or something like that in August, when things are a bit more peaceful usually. So I will explain a little bit more about, what I've learned from it and the creative illuminations that I've had. It is 6:45 and I've just finished work for the day, so I'm gonna go outside and water the garden and then get back in, make dinner and do The Artist's Way. Maybe not in that order, we'll see. The plants are struggling. To be fair, we don't water the garden a lot because we've planted native plants. It's the non-native ones that really struggle. We were planning on putting like retic in or drippers in before summer, but never got around to it, so it's going to have to wait till autumn now because it's just too hot to dig up the garden at this point in time in this season. So yeah, that's going to have to wait for another couple of months, but it's doing okay considering it's been like 40 degrees for a few weeks. Got a few flowers happening on this one here. And over this side as well. You can see the remnants of old flowers in this one too. So cute. tucks them away nice and neatly. Oh, I think there's a few growing over there too, if you can see them. We did not expect this banksia to get this big, but now it's got a beautiful flower. Yeah, I'm stoked with it. It's stunning. This native patch has changed a lot since my reel with Greening Australia, where I showed you or did a little tour of it. It's grown up so much and I'm so excited. We do have plans to plant more natives very soon. This is me trying to do the artist's way. If I hug her tight enough, she leaves. Welcome to the book that changed my trajectory and finally got me to just put my creative dreams first. We're almost there. I can't remember where I left off. Is there a bookmark? Oh, chapter 10. The way this course works, if you haven't looked into it before, is there's a book. You can either get the physical one, or I believe there's an audio book that some people will listen to, and potentially even an ebook, actually almost definitely an ebook. I managed to find this, I think it was like the day before we were meant to start. I went to my local secondhand bookshop and it was just there on the shelf, and I was like, okay, this book is meant to be mine. This physical copy. And it was funny, the man behind the counter said, this book always sells really well, like whenever we get it in, it's gone straight away. And he was really curious as to what it was about, so maybe I can spark something in him as well. But anyway, so there's a book and it's got 12 chapters, and you read a chapter a week along with the course, because the course is 12 weeks long. Each day throughout the course, you're encouraged to write some pages in the morning in a journal. This can be like a reflection. Sometimes it can be, like for me, most of the time it was just like a diary, just talking about my day. And then other times, if there was a particular task that was given to us in the book that I needed to reflect on in those pages, that's what I use them for as well. And then you're also encouraged to do a weekly artist date, which is just something creative that you feel the urge to do during the week, and you're supposed to schedule those in. But those were the things I found most difficult, because those were meant to be done alone. And I tend to do a lot of like creative things with my husband. So it was really quite a challenge, and also like a fun challenge actually, to carve dates out just for me, creative dates out just for me. And most of the time I really thought a lot of them would end up being like going out of the house, going to a museum or something, but really in the season that I was in, and still am while doing this book, is like a lot of it ended up being indoors, a lot of it ended up being just fun creative stuff that I haven't done since I was a kid, like press flowers. That just reminded me, they're still being pressed in the cupboard since week 1, and I want to retrieve them from there. Anyway, so that's the basic gist. Oh, and in each chapter towards the end, there are tasks, which I found personally so fulfilling to do a couple of those tasks each week. They were just like self-therapy. A light bulb literally went on above me then. That was weird. But these tasks were literally self-therapy. And I feel like it just unlocked things in me, this particular task. But I have to say, the whole journey itself and all of those bits and pieces put together were just the magic key to unlocking and unblocking whatever was going on inside me. And I was one of those people who started this course thinking, I'm not blocked, I'm so creative. I just ran out of space, so where was I? I really thought that I had just a creative stream of ideas and that nothing needed fixing, until I started doing the tasks and everything in between, and realized there was actually a lot beneath the surface. So I would recommend this book even if you think that you're doing a great job. because it completely changed my perspective. And because I was probably in denial as well, and I was suppressing a lot of things that I thought didn't even matter. So there we go. So I'm gonna do a little bit of work now on it. And I think what I will do is I will reflect on, say, my 5 key learnings, at least so far, in the course. And I will share those tomorrow morning after I've slept on it, because it's getting quite late. Time to stop procrastinating, I think, and get to it. Morning. Last night I wrote down a list of, I ended up getting 9 things that I learnt rather than 5 from The Artist's Way so far. So I thought I'd go through them with you while I have my cup of tea and maybe leave you with some advice and some creative wisdom for the week. So the first thing I learnt, which I wasn't really aware of before The Artist's Way, were these people called crazy makers. And the book says to avoid crazy makers. Now these people are people who, I'm going to read from the list: break deals and destroy schedules, expect special treatment, discount your reality, spend your time and money, triangulate those they deal with, are expert blamers. I just saw cockatoos with black and white tails, which are really, they're endangered. So that was amazing. Sorry. Triangulate those they deal with, are expert blamers, create dramas, hate schedules, hate order, and they deny they're crazy makers. And the book says that, yeah, as creatives, we should avoid these types of people. So that was the first realization that I had. Second tip, we must learn when criticism is appropriate and from whom. We must learn to create our own safe environments. There's such thing as useless criticism, and there's such thing as useful criticism. The book says that true criticism liberates the artist it's aimed at. And that was another moment where I was like, oh my God, the amount of useless criticism that I've got in my entire life. And it's also made me reflect on how I acknowledge others when they produce and share something. I think I have been guilty myself of giving useless criticism, but now I feel like I want to help make everyone else have a safe environment when it comes to creating things, because you treat others how you want to be treated, basically. And since reading this little segment, I feel like I've done a really great job at protecting myself creatively. I think before I would really just put anything and everything out there and be open to criticism, useful or useless. And I think that really created a lot of creative blocks for me. So creating a little protective barrier around what I'm accepting and not accepting has been really life-changing for me. Tip number 3. This was a task in the book, and I found that it was one of my favorite tasks to do. And it was a really great way to figure out what I want out of life. And I think it could help other people figure out what they want out of life. First step, write a letter to you now from your 80-year-old self. So you're putting yourself in the shoes of yourself when you're 80, which I've never done before. That was really special to me, actually, because I've never thought that far ahead in life and what I would want, where I would want to be when I'm 80 years old. It was also really special to me as well, because that's how old my grandma was when she passed away in December. So it was almost like putting myself in my grandmother's shoes too. So yeah, it was all sorts of layers of emotional to write that letter to myself. And the second step is to write a letter from you now to your 8-year-old self. And again, that was so special because I felt like I was just giving my 8-year-old self such a big hug and acknowledging her dreams, acknowledging her skills, and just everything that she was capable of back then. And I feel like we don't give our younger selves enough credit sometimes. And that can be a great way to heal past blockages and past creative wounds as well. So yeah, highly recommend that activity. Even if you don't do The Artist's Way, that is a great activity to do. Tip number 4, In chapter 5, it says, and I quote, "Pray to catch the bus and then run as fast as you can." And that really stood out to me so much that I wrote it down in my notes. And I think it's about when you pursue a creative dream, you have to have hope and action together. You can't just pray to catch the bus and then hope it shows up at the right time. And then I feel like if you're running as fast as you can after the bus, but you have no belief that you're going to catch it, I think that affects the way that you run, if you know what I mean. We can't discount the effect belief has on our pursuits, basically, and vice versa. Tip number 5, creative living requires a luxury of time, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, and luxury of space, even if it's just a shelf to put your paintings or your cameras on. And I never thought of that. I think that idea changed my perspective because I always thought for me that it was just about not having enough time, but space is really important as well. And I've been constantly in pursuit of that. And now that I have space, I have my room, I feel like I'm still trying to catch up with time. But reading this, I realized that even if it's just 15 minutes a day, that's all I have to carve out for myself. That's something. Even that 15 minutes can be luxurious and can be special. I feel like this idea could also really help people who feel like they've got enough time but they don't know what else is wrong or what else isn't working, and it could be the space aspect as well. And I feel like when I was just starting out, that was my issue, and now it's sort of gone the opposite. Anyway, number 6, the stream of inspiration is the radio. We tune into the frequency we want. The Artist Way has helped me realize that while there is creativity within me, it also comes from outside of me as well. And that it's helped me believe that there is some sort of divine creator or inspiration that comes from outside of me. And sometimes it's not me lacking the creativity, it's that I'm not paying attention to all the messages that I'm being received or what I'm being shown to do. And sometimes it really is just about getting outside of your head and really, really listening and feeling what's going on around you. I think this idea is also really special because it's saying that we also have a choice about what creative inspiration we can act on or what we choose to listen to. And while we can often be given a lot of ideas, it's up to us to make the final choice about what we want to do with that. For me, it's also it feels really calming to know that there is just a constant stream of inspiration out there and all I have to do is tap into it, and that I'm never going to be short of ideas. Number 7, this is a good one and one that I've already shared with someone. When hit by a loss, ask what next instead of why me. I think I've been guilty of asking why me when creative losses happen, or when, for example, I share something on social media and it doesn't do well, and I just feel like it's something to do with me. And I think a lot of people can be guilty of this with social media as well, thinking that the algorithm is against them and what's wrong with them that they can't really do well on social media. Instead, we need to be asking what next? What can we do to just improve? What can we do to come back from this and to make ourselves proud again and get back on the horse? It can be really easy to go down a spiral of blaming and confusion and beating yourself up. And sometimes we really do, instead of that reflection, we need to just turn it into action and move forward and ask what to do next and do that thing, if you know what I mean. I think it also takes the power back into our own hands, asking what next, brushing off that creative loss and saying, you know what, I've got control over this, I'm going to do better, and here's how I'm going to do it. And that was something I really kept in mind when I was figuring out whether I wanted to pick up posting on Instagram and TikTok this year, or whether I wanted to put that creative energy into YouTube instead. And I think I've just been hit by so many creative losses on Instagram in particular. And I was stuck in that why me? Why isn't everything going right for me when it is for other people? And instead, I really took this advice and I was like, you know what? I'm done with asking myself why is this happening to me, and just being caught in the spiral of posting and feeling that creative failure, and posting and feeling that creative failure, even though to other people it may not look like a failure, but to me it did. And so I just moved into that, what next? Are we going to keep going with this cycle, or are we going to pursue something else that makes us feel better? And that's what I did. Number 8, and this sort of ties in with everything I've been talking about over the past couple of weeks as well. A creative life is grounded in many, many small steps and very, very few large leaps. I see this in creatives a lot as well. People think that they have to be launching something every week or making all these huge announcements, and it doesn't get them very far in the end, when really all we need is that consistency and to figure out, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow, rather than what's my big goal for the year. This idea also really helped me because I then went on to make a plan, moving backwards from my end goal, and then seeing what that could look like in 6 months, seeing what that could look like in 3 months, seeing what that could look like in 1 month, and then what I could do in the next fortnight, in the next week, and then tomorrow to make that happen. And that set up all the really small steps that I had to take in order to get to that large leap, instead of just trying to aim for that huge leap, because that can sometimes feel impossible. It really is made up of the small steps. And I think this is very much on par with the quote that most overnight successes didn't happen overnight. And that is just so true. A creative life is grounded in many, many small steps and very, very few large leaps. And the last piece of advice that I got from The Artist's Way is a Latin saying, which I'd never heard before, but I'm sure many of you have. So forgive me if I'm a bit behind. The saying is, or the phrase is, non illegitimi te carborundum. I hope I said that okay. And basically, it doesn't translate 100% to this, but the English version is, don't let the bastards get you down. Don't let the critics or the crazy makers bring you down. But also, don't let the system give you self-doubt as well. The window was starting to give me a weird pattern on my face, so I've just moved. But what was I going to say? If you found any of these 9 pieces of advice helpful, I would highly recommend doing The Artist's Way. I think it's one of those trends that I've seen on TikTok that I've done that I feel like has actually been worth it. And so whether you do it as an audiobook, as an ebook, or get a physical copy, do it by yourself or in a group, I would just recommend exploring that avenue. In terms of the time it took up out of those 12 weeks, I would do the reading of each chapter on Sunday night and plan my artist date for that week on the Sunday evening. And then out of my morning, it would take me like half an hour to an hour to do my morning pages, my journal notes. And then my artist date, depending on the date, would take me 1 hour to like a morning to do. So it's quite intense with the amount of time that it takes up. But for me, it was totally worth it to get me listening to my inner voice again, and to find or to revisit the creative trajectory that I wanted to go on for all those years, and to have the confidence to do so as well. So it's been amazing. And I really want to thank Isabel for just putting the offer out there, because I would never have taken the opportunity at the time that I did to do it without that offer. And not to mention the group support from that, and the accountability was just everything. So I'll put Isabel's handle on the screen. Isabel does amazing things in the spaces of creativity and business, and in the energy and healing space as well. So I definitely recommend following her. She's another Perth creative if you're interested in that sort of stuff. In the meantime, I'm gonna finish off, hopefully in the next 10 days, my Artist's Way journey, which isn't too bad considering everything. I started the journey unwell, looking back at my morning pages last night. I started the journey and I was really sick. And then my grandmother died, and then it was Christmas and New Year's, and now all of a sudden it's February. So I'm quite happy with the process and the progress of that, considering everything that's gone on over the past 4 months. In the meantime, I will see you in the next video, and I hope you have a fabulous day. And again, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments or reach out to me privately. Happy to help with any Artist's Way journey questions or thoughts. I'll see you soon.